Well, that does bring up the question of like, okay, so with all these fees, it sounds like they're pretty fixed, or are any of these negotiable when it comes to closing costs?
Well, yes and no. First of all, I would argue that when it comes to the recurring costs, again, the first year homeowners insurance, of course, you're going to shop around for that. So you're going to, that's really up to the borrower, the buyer, to shop around and get their best deal. We try to help them with that, but ultimately they pick the provider. So they're in control of what that cost is going to be. Property taxes are property taxes. Obviously, you could call the county tax collector's office and negotiate, but that ain't going to work, right? We all know that. So that part, and again, those are major parts of your closing costs. So that section, that recurring costs, I would say, generally speaking, other than a little bit with homeowners insurance, not really negotiable. Then when you get on the non-recurring costs, the ones I described that are third-party fee-based costs for different services provided, well, really, even most of those are not that negotiable. For example, credit report. We order a credit report from a company that has a fee for it. Yeah, you're not going to be able to, I can't call the credit report company and say, hey, Mr. Smith doesn't like that we're going to, pull his report and it's going to cost him $82. He wants to pay $50. No, not going to happen. Same with the appraisal. The appraisal fee is the appraisal fee. There's a schedule that appraisal management companies publish, and they pretty much adhere to that. You're not going to negotiate that. Again, that third-party verification of employment fee that many major companies use. It is what it is. And they're expensive, $100, $150 for one form to verify somebody's employment. It's really kind of crazy. Now, escrow and title fees is an interesting component of closing costs and the question of negotiability. I would argue those are not that negotiable. For one, what happens is when you're in purchasing a home, it's ultimately the agents and usually the listing side, the selling side, who are going to probably control who the escrow and title providers are going to be. Sometimes a buyer's agent and buyer may request in their offer that they want to use a particular escrow company or title company, maybe because they think they're going to charge lower fees. But in most cases, that gets negotiated away, and it's the selling side that decides who's going to provide those services, escrow and title. Can you negotiate those? Maybe. What's interesting about the mortgage process is escrow and title companies generally are insulated from even being approached about their fees. In other words, they've already been picked by the time escrow opens, and we actually are in a position as the loan originator when we set up this file and we register it with the lender. One of the things we have to do is we have to provide estimates of all these fees I'm talking about, even though most of them are not ours. I have, now I have a good handle on what the appraisal fee and the credit report fee is going to be, of course, because, we know what those fee schedules are. But when it comes to escrow and title, usually when we start a new transaction, we maybe don't even know who the escrow and title company are going to be, or we have just found out. And yet, because of the timeline that's been started with the opening of escrow, we can't wait around for a day or two or three for the escrow office to send us their schedule of fees. We have to estimate them on their behalf when we register the file with the lender. And so what happens in doing that is we and even the lender will set up those estimates higher than probably the actual on purpose to avoid under disclosure. And again, once you open escrow, can the borrower, the buyer, go to that escrow company now that they know who it is and say, hey, I don't like your fees. Can you drop them? Go ahead, give it a try. I haven't seen that be successful very often. So really, when it comes to negotiating fees, I would say that's a pretty narrow opportunity, and it's mostly going to be related to who your originator is. In other words, what you may be able to negotiate to a limited degree is the rate being offered to you, and if the mortgage originator has any miscellaneous fees, sometimes called junk fees. Folks like us, a mortgage broker, there's brokers out there who, when they deliver a loan to a lender, that lender is going to have a flat fee. Usually it's called an underwriting fee or an admin fee, and it's usually plus or minus $1,000. But some brokers will have miscellaneous fees like processing fee and document fee, and even they'll have an underwriting fee. Can you negotiate those? Possibly. But that's about the only segment of all these costs I'm describing where you really have a genuine chance to negotiate anything.